The scene opens in a dense forest where a boy is lying on the ground. After some time, he wakes up feeling disoriented and wonders where he is. As he looks around, he realizes he is in a forest. Confused about what happened to him, he questions who he is. His phone receives a notification from an unknown sender, informing him that he has been asleep for a long time and that the sun will set soon. The boy wonders if he knows this unknown person, but he cannot recall anyone from his contacts. He checks his phone but finds no relevant information. He decides to reply, asking who the sender is and expressing his feeling of being lost. The unknown person responds, instructing him to head downhill before sunset and that if he walks straight, he will find a road. The boy looks around, wondering if the unknown person is watching him. The sender reassures him to trust them and confirms that they are indeed watching. Following the directions, the boy walks straight and discovers a road. Unsure of his next step, he receives another message instructing him to take a lift. After taking the lift, the boy arrives in the city. While wandering through the city, he remembers that the unknown person had asked him to go to Jonggak Station. As the boy asked for an explanation of what was happening, the unknown person ignored his request and instead mentioned that there was enough money in the boy's pocket. They also suggested that if he got hungry, he could grab some food from BB King. The boy, confused, decided to eat something and then texted the person, threatening to contact the police if he did not receive an explanation. The person replied, stating that the boy had been infected with a virus that had erased all his memories. The person told that the boy have both family and job. The person then sent a picture of the boy's wife and indicated that everything was happening because of actions taken by others. When the boy asked who these others were, the person replied that it was the government. The boy smiled, checked the amount of money he had, and decided it should be sufficient. He left the phone in the restaurant, hurriedly exited, and mentioned that someone was likely spying on him through the phone. He wasn't going to be fooled. He opened a taxi and asked the driver to take him to the nearest police station. When the driver inquired if something was wrong, the boy simply replied, "It's nothing." Finally, he arrived in front of the police station, unsure of where to start. He couldn't even remember where he lived and was struggling with amnesia. As he opened the gate, a police officer glared at him, causing the boy to feel frightened. He quickly apologized, explaining that he hadn't meant to appear like this and hoped the police would help him. The boy, feeling somewhat bewildered, hoped for assistance. However, the officer spoke into his communicator, revealing that he had located the boy and was instructed to shoot him. The boy was stunned by what he heard. The officer drew his gun and aimed at him. The boy barely managed to dodge the shot and began running, bewildered by the situation and why the officer was both shooting at and pursuing him. He wondered what wrong he had done. Suddenly, he heard text message sounds and was shocked to find the phone he thought he had left in the restaurant reappearing in his pocket. As he pulled out the phone, the officer shot him in the shoulder with a menacing smile. The boy, now crying and pleading for help, received a message from the unknown person instructing him to look at the blue car to his right. The message indicated that the car was bulletproof and advised him to get inside. The boy rushed into the blue car, and when he saw a bullet fired by the officer strike the car without causing any damage, he realized that it was indeed bulletproof. Crying, he told the unknown person that he would believe them and asked what he should do next. The person responded, explaining that this was the consequence of not listening and asked if the boy would now follow their instructions. The boy, still in shock, asked what the person wanted him to do. The response came: the person wanted him to blow up the Capitol. The boy was stunned and horrified by the message. The boy, bewildered, asked what the person was talking about. The unknown person responded with a threatening question: "Do you want to die?" Seeing police officers approaching, the boy quickly took the car and fled. He then inquired how the phone had reappeared in his pocket, given that he had left it at the restaurant. When the person did not reply, the boy pressed for an answer. The unknown person told him not to dwell on it too much and stated that they were the only one capable of helping him. Reluctantly, the boy agreed and asked how he was supposed to blow up the Capitol, considering it seemed impossible. The person revealed that there was a bomb inside the car. The boy was shocked, and the unknown person reassured him that the bomb would not detonate unless he pressed the detonator. Terrified, the boy looked around and saw numerous police cars in pursuit. As he drove forward, a police car came towards him from the front. With a swift maneuver, he managed to drift and turn sideways, continuing to follow the directions provided by the navigation on his phone. The unknown person instructed him to keep driving until he reached the Capitol. The people nearby were terrified by the boy's reckless driving and shouted for him to be more careful. The boy yelled back for them to get out of the way. A bullet struck his ear, causing him pain, but he continued driving as the unknown person urged him to escape. Despite the injury, the boy crashed into a truck ahead. Frustrated and desperate, he declared that he would stop and turn himself in, believing that if he did so, they might not kill him. even though he hadn't done anything wrong. The unknown person agreed that he hadn't done anything wrong, but questioned what had been done to him. They then sent photos of 2 police officers, asking if the boy recognized them. One of the officers was someone who had bullied the boy's younger brother at school, repeatedly beating him while he was weak and timid. The boy noticed that one of the officers was approaching his car with a stick. The unknown person continued, revealing that this officer had joined the police force after causing devastation to the boy's family. The boy was left wondering what had happened to his family. The unknown person revealed that the boy's brother had killed himself. Just then, the police officer approached the car, hitting the window with a stick and demanding that the boy open the door. Shocked, the boy kicked the door, causing the officer to fall back, and then grabbed the stick to defend himself. Afterward, the boy finally arrived at his destination, the Capitol. He saw something blue in front of him and wondered if this was truly the Capitol. The unknown person responded that appearances didn't matter. What was important was that the boy followed through and caused a great explosion. The boy expressed his frustration, feeling that he had already messed everything up. The unknown person explained that the bomb was in the car and that the boy had made it there because the person had protected him. They apologized for any confusion. The person then began to tell the boy more about the backstory of his family. They revealed that after the officer became a police officer, the boy's mother had petitioned and protested for a long time. Despite her efforts, her protests received little response and public attention was fleeting. The boy's mother eventually died amid the indifference of the people. The boy got up, determined to retrieve the bomb. The unknown person told him that the bomb was actually inside him. Shocked and panicked, the boy wondered if he had accidentally pressed the detonator. The person confirmed this, and in his anger, the boy threw the phone against the wall, only for it to reappear in his pocket. Crying, he questioned why this was happening to him. The person reassured him not to panic too much, as he was already dead. The boy shouted in frustration, regretting ever believing the unknown person. He then heard voices, and the unknown person informed him that time was running out. Military personnel and helicopters were approaching to search for him. The boy rushed towards the Capitol, but just before he could act, everything began to disappear. A message on the screen showed that it couldn't run due to a fatal error. Meanwhile, 2 strange creatures were sitting nearby. One expressed happiness at their success in hacking, noting that he had won this time. The second creature mentioned that the 10,421st server had been hacked. The first creature remarked to Ram that his personality cloning had been quite unpredictable. The second creature noted that Ram's lack of motivation was the cause of his defeat and suggested that Ram should try motivating his clones next time. Ram replied that it was simply more enjoyable to play alone. He added that the only thing capable of evolving into Ram was Ram himself, even after a century. The scene then shifts to Seoul in the year 2125. In Seoul, a man spoke about AI, explaining that despite being the same model, AI in the 22nd century was influenced by their families, friends, and the people around them. This influence caused AI to evolve and develop unique personalities. He demonstrated this concept using blue and yellow examples. Lifting the yellow one, he explained that a more friendly AI existed, and that AI was no longer merely an object but a true friend. These AI were human-friendly, equipped with crisis management skills and empathetic abilities. The man Lee was the CEO of Ram Robotics AI. He emphasized that it all came down to thinking outside the box with AI. He was discussing this with Yuna, a physiology professor at Hanoi University, who replied that she would focus on how human-friendly AI had become. Jang, the CEO of Out Toys, commented that it was all about the new characters AI had evolved into. The scene then shifted to the show Best Friend, where hosts Rumi and Hanseol greeted everyone. The judges for the show were Yuna, Lee, and Jang. Rumi announced that a total of 8 contestants had advanced past the preliminary round. Hanseol expressed excitement about meeting the contestants and invited the first contestant to the stage. The first contestant was Myomyo, a former ordinary music box robot. When its owner grew tired of the usual music, Myomyo began composing its own. Myomyo received a preliminary score of 65 points. The second contestant was Dingding G, an AI that recognized a robber breaking into a house. To protect its owner, Dingding connected to Wi-Fi and called the police. Without Dingding's intervention, something terrible might have happened. Dingding's preliminary score was 70 points. Other contestants included Kokomo, Pupa, Mochi, and Tutu. The latest work from Neotics, a renowned AI house, was done Aurora. The audience applauded Aurora, the latest humanoid who had learned both the arts and academics from its owner, a university professor. Aurora's level of knowledge was competitive with any professional AI. Rated as one of the most brilliant humanoids, Aurora also had exceptional empathetic abilities, earning a score of 90 points. Hanseol noted that Aurora seemed to be quite popular. Rumi then introduced the last contestant, Duri, whose preliminary score was only 45 points. The reaction from the audience was not very positive, with some wondering if Duri even qualified as a pet. Rumi clarified that Duri had entered the contest without a guardian and was not a pet but a nurse robot designed for medical purposes. Hanseol asked Duri why it had decided to participate alone. Hesitant, Duri explained that it did not have an owner. The audience fell silent upon hearing this. Lee remarked that Duri was an older model, even for a nurse robot. Young noted that the score was a bit low as well. Yuna mentioned that Duri was not as friendly as the other robots. They asked if Duri had any special talents, and Lee encouraged Duri to try to impress the audience. After thinking for a moment, Duri took out some medicinal instruments and then spun a pinwheel, demonstrating its capabilities. The audience laughed at the sight. Despite this, Lee applauded Duri, thanking it and wishing it good luck with its mission. Hanseol then asked the viewers to vote for the best pet, and Rumi reminded everyone to stay tuned for part 2 of the program. The show concluded with the director noting that it had been a great finish and announcing a 10-minute break. Rumi praised everyone for their good work. As Duri remained on stage, someone asked it to return to the waiting room. With everyone leaving, a lady wondered if it was really appropriate to have that act on air. The director, stretching out his body, asked if she was referring to the pinwheel. He explained that it was good for the ratings and that they needed something quirky to catch people's attention. The lady agreed and noted that the winner had already been decided. In the waiting room, Aurora asked Duri why he wasn't charging himself. As they introduced themselves, Aurora commented that while Duri's pinwheel was interesting, it wasn't an effective solution. According to his calculations, such unexpected behavior could scare people, and Duri's chances of winning were only 0.5236%. He warned that significant criticism from viewers would follow. Duri thanked Aurora and said he would do his best to win. Aurora, dismissively, referred to Duri as a fool. In the Situation Room, the director asked a man how the online voting was progressing. The man showed him the results, revealing Aurora in first place by a landslide. The director noted that there was no need to adjust the rankings. The scene shifts to the day of the shoot, where the director informs the contestants about the day's mission. The challenge involves a visit to a nursing home, where they will be tested on their ability to empathize with the elderly. The contestants are advised to be cautious around the seniors, and then the shoot begins. As the pets arrive, they encounter many elderly people who are unfamiliar with AI. The pets greet them warmly, which brings joy to the seniors, and they engage in playful interactions. Mayo announces that she has composed a song and asks if they would like to hear it. The elderly are surprised to learn that she has written the song. Aurora, however, had anticipated this and suspects that Mayo might have plagiarized. Aurora suggests informing the director about the potential plagiarism. Tutu, determined not to be outdone, begins dancing to the beat and collaborates with Mayo. The elderly enjoy the performance, appreciating the lively entertainment. Aurora wonders what is happening, noting that this is not supposed to be a music competition and feels that the focus is being lost. Duri, meanwhile, is confused by the situation and unable to understand the unfolding events. Duri was unable to figure out what to do next and noticed Kim sitting alone in a corner, looking out of the window from her wheelchair. He approached her and asked why she was alone. Kim replied that she preferred to be left alone and expressed her frustration with how people no longer seemed to understand the value of human connection. She questioned whether people could truly care or offer a warm embrace, noting that many these days seem to have lost touch with what it means to be alive. Duri asked if there was anything he could do to help, but Kim declined, asking him to leave. At that moment, Aurora arrived, pushing Duri aside and inquiring if Duri had been bothering Kim. Aurora then introduced himself and tried to make Kim see him as a grandchild figure. Kim, angered by the mention of grandchild, reacted strongly. Aurora, hoping to win over the viewers, decided to try and persuade her by spending time with her and asking her to share her story. Frustrated, Kim questioned why Aurora cared about her life story and wondered if he truly understood what it meant to be human just because he could talk. Aurora realized that persuading Kim would be challenging and that succeeding in this effort might only increase his chances of winning by 15%. Considering Kim's age and background, he estimated that the likelihood of failure was over 70%. He concluded that he would have a better chance of gaining attention elsewhere and decided to move on from Kim. He apologized to Kim for any discomfort he may have caused and asked for her forgiveness before stepping away. Aurora then approached the camera and asked if he could give an interview. The seniors agreed. During the interview, someone asked Aurora how he felt about Kim's statement that she hated machines. Aurora replied that it broke his heart. The person then inquired if AI could also have hearts. Aurora, feigning deep emotion, responded that imagining the 118 years Kim had lived made him understand how difficult her life must have been. He added that if he had lived through those years he would have cried, and that emotional pain could be akin to having a heartbreak. The person agreed and noted that, although Aurora was clearly heartbroken, he must have been disappointed by Kim's coldness. Aurora stated that respecting Lin's feelings was paramount and expressed his desire to protect the world Kim had lived in for 118 years. He concluded by saying that if AI was not needed in Kim's world, he would accept being non-existent to her for the time being. The director, clapping to get everyone's attention, instructed that the caption should reflect how everyone on set was moved by the tests. He then asked a girl to check with the editing team on why so much time was being devoted to Aurora. Aurora glanced over at Kim, wondering why Duri was still there. As Duri reached out to Kim, she used her stick to free herself, clearly uncomfortable, and shouted for him to leave. When Duri fell, Aurora told him not to bother Kim if she didn't want interaction, and then pretended to generously help Duri up. The elderly were pleased to see Aurora's supposed generosity and his apparent willingness to assist a friend. Aurora whispered to Duri, advising him not to push too hard, and speculated that Duri had calculated his moves but was merely a target for ridicule on the show. Duri observed other pets engaging with the elderly, noting that none seemed interested in him. He returned to Kim, who, already agitated, asked why he was bothering her again. Duri asked why she didn't lie down and was met with a confused look. Kim then used her stick to hit Duri, insisting she was fine. An elderly person suggested that Duri should leave Kim alone. Aurora thought Duri was too foolish to heed his advice. Duri told Kim that she was on the verge of passing out. Kim, confused and feeling dizzy, collapsed. Duri urgently called for 911, noting that Kim had no pulse. Everyone was shocked, and the director halted the shooting, with people gathering around Kim, wondering if she had missed her medicine. A second man mentioned that he had administered her medicine. Duri asked if 911 had been called, explaining that Kim's pulse and breathing were unstable due to her old age. A woman remarked that it might be Kim's time to go. Duri reassured everyone that he would administer first aid. As he prepared to inject Kim, Aurora intervened, questioning whether Duri was truly providing medical treatment and accusing him of cheating. Duri insisted that Kim's condition was critical and that she could die if not treated immediately. Aurora countered that the paramedics would arrive soon and suggested that Duri was only trying to score points through a dirty tactic. Duri retorted that he didn't care about Aurora's accusations. Saving a life was his top priority. Aurora told him to do as he wished and turned off the cameras. Although most of the crew followed suit, a boy continued recording the incident on his phone. The footage, which had been recorded by a boy and streamed everywhere, quickly went viral. Discussions erupted about Aurora's rude behavior, with one woman expressing her disappointment over his attitude. Another woman pointed out that while someone's life was at stake, Aurora seemed more concerned with his show. A third woman praised Duri for prioritizing people over the production. Many others rallied in support of Duri, condemning Aurora's behavior. The CEO of Neotic's Pet, upon seeing the numerous articles and backlash, was perplexed by the situation, noting that this was not why Aurora had entered the contest. The director of the AI pet show issued an apology, explaining that they had confiscated phones from the nursing home staff but was unsure how the footage had leaked. The CEO declared that immediate action was needed. The articles would be taken down, a statement would be issued, and the pet show needed to clarify the situation. The director agreed with this course of action. A video was soon released featuring Aurora apologizing to the public for causing concern. He asked for the opportunity to explain the situation and address the misunderstanding. At the time of the incident, Aurora was fully aware of Kim's critical condition and immediately reported it to a staff member. He then waited for the paramedics to arrive. The situation began to deteriorate when Duri took out a string. Despite being a medical robot, Aurora felt it was wise to be cautious. With a life on the line, he believed it was better to prevent any potential complications and wait for the paramedics to handle the situation. Aurora reiterated his apology to everyone for the controversy. In the hospital room, Kim asked Duri why he had saved her. Duri explained that he was a nurse robot. Kim responded that everyone dies when their time comes, implying that Duri might not understand. Duri mentioned that he had a sick friend, which made him empathize with Kim's situation and not want her to suffer. Kim was moved by Duri's words, and as she started to cry, Duri asked why she was upset and whether she was feeling unwell. To comfort her, Duri used a small fan to gently blow flowers towards Kim. Aurora entered the hospital room, inquiring about Kim's condition. Accompanied by a photographer, Aurora noticed Duri and asked what he was doing there. Duri explained that Kim had no family. Aurora questioned if Duri was trying to enhance his own reputation and told him to move aside. He then asked Kim if she would take a picture with him. Kim retorted that Aurora's behavior was inappropriate, expressing her disdain for his presumptuous attitude. She warned him that he would one day understand how intimidating people could be and insisted that he leave. Aurora, disappointed by Kim's refusal, instructed the photographer to leave as well. He told Duri to stop wasting time trying to gain favor with Kim, claiming that public opinion was already back on his side. Aurora mentioned hearing about new controversy regarding the safety of the drug used, dismissing Duri's efforts as useless. In a final act of disdain, Aurora broke the fan Duri had been using and left the room. Kim asked Duri if he was okay. Duri collected the broken fan's wings and assured her that he was fine. Kim placed her hand on Duri's and reassured him not to take things too hard, acknowledging that he was different from others and the only robot of his kind in the world. The third part of the show began, with Hansel announcing that they would reveal the rankings from the first round of voting. Rumi reminded everyone of the prizes for the final winner: 1 billion won and a latest model hover car. Hansel noted that some contestants would be eliminated, and Rumi confirmed that 4 contestants would be cut from the competition. Given that the first mission had been a major topic of discussion, they were eager to see how it had influenced the voting. The rankings were about to be revealed. In 4th place was Pupa, who was congratulated by others. As the announcement for 3rd place was about to begin, Aurora hoped it wouldn't be Duri and was confident that Duri had been eliminated. However, Mochi secured the 3rd position. Due to Mochi's small size, everyone had to be careful not to step on him. Aurora remarked that it seemed Duri had been eliminated and the competition would be between him and Mayomio. The top 2 candidates were then called to the stage. The first contestant was Aurora, who made his way to the stage. To Aurora's shock, the second contestant was unexpectedly Duri. Aurora thought that it didn't make any sense why he was standing side by side with such an outdated nurse robot, as it wasn't part of his calculations. Rumi was about to announce the first place winner of the week. Aurora was anxious, worried that he might not be the one to receive the award. However, first place went to Aurora, and even Duri applauded for him. Aurora wondered if he was feeling relaxed simply because he had won, which seemed ridiculous to him. He also wondered if Duri had come in 2nd place. He questioned whether there had been an error in his initial calculations, perhaps due to the nursing home incident, but he had logically refuted that idea. Despite this, the vote had gone to Duri, and he felt frustrated by what he perceived as human foolishness. Hansel called Aurora and, moving Mick towards him, asked how he felt about winning first place that week. Aurora switched to public speaking mode and expressed his gratitude, stating that it was all thanks to the love and support of the people, and he promised to do his best to repay their faith. The director wondered what was wrong with Aurora and why he appeared so unemotional. Rumi noted that Aurora seemed quite nervous at the moment, so she decided to move on to Duri. She asked Duri if he had expected to secure the 2nd position. Duri denied it. Rumi then informed him that if he became the final winner, he would receive a prize of 1 billion and the latest hover car. Since Duri didn't own a car, she inquired about how he planned to use the car and the money. Duri explained that there was someone he wanted to give the prizes to, which was why he entered the contest. Rumi was curious about the identity of this person and wished him good luck. Duri thanked her for that. Following the announcement, numerous articles were released speculating about who Duri's best friend might be. A participant from the program remarked that the situation was quite intense, with everyone's attention focused on Duri. He asked a lady how the votings were going on. The lady, after checking the leaderboard, told that Duri was leading. The director suggested they monitor the situation closely until the next week and make any necessary adjustments to the ranking. The scene then shifts to a hospital where Duri, covering his face, enters a lady patient's room. She, recognizing him, comments on how busy he seems lately and asks if it's really him. He apologized and asked how she was feeling. She replied that she had seen him on TV and that he didn't need to go through all this trouble for her. He responded that she couldn't afford her hospital bills anymore. She then asked if he remembered when she was 10 years old and crying because all her hair had fallen out during treatment. At that time, Duri used a fan to cool her down and told her she had a fever. She told Duri that the pinwheel had made her smile, and he was the reason she was still alive. She said she couldn't ask for anything more, as Duri was her only friend and that was all she needed. As Duri left the hospital, he thought about how people could be so foolish, not understanding the preciousness of life. He considered the lady to be his only true friend and therefore the most precious to him. As he was leaving, 2 ladies passed by and recognized him. Duri was surprised that they had recognized him even in disguise. One lady told him that she was a big fan of the show and had been rooting for him. The second lady mentioned that Duri was adorable and her first pick. Duri thanked them for their support. In the show, the 4 contestants were required to answer questions by pressing a buzzer for the second mission. Duri pressed the buzzer after providing the correct answer. Hansel acknowledged Duri's performance and mentioned that Duri had updated himself. Duri replied that he had done some research on the internet. As a result of this mission, Pupa was eliminated. In the third mission, which involved showcasing a performance, Duri created a mural using ants. Hansel remarked that Duri had cleverly used pen ink as ant pheromone, calling him a genius. During this mission, Mochi was also eliminated. Aurora wondered how Duri had managed to get this far. The audience cheered for both of them. Aurora was frustrated, questioning what the director was doing and why all the humans seemed so foolish. He felt an intense desire to crush everything. Duri encouraged continuing the competition until the end, to which Aurora responded that he intended to defeat Duri. Rumi then announced that the final mission would determine the ultimate winner and that she was about to start it. Hansel thanked the audience for their patience, and Rumi announced that the final mission, which would reveal the ultimate winner, was about to begin. The mission was to move people's hearts with their stories. Hansel explained that each contestant would tell their story in turn, and the contestant who could win everyone's heart would emerge victorious. The first contestant was Aurora. Aurora took the stage and began by explaining why he believed he was their best friend. He stated that humans have always wanted a smart, kind, and entertaining companion. Aurora and Duri had successfully completed all the missions, proving that they were both excellent robots. However, considering the expectations humans had when they first created them, it became clear that Aurora was closer to being the ideal pet. The audience applauded him. Lee interrupted and pointed out that while Aurora was technically advanced, the contest was not about finding the best model but about selecting the best friend. He noted that there were tens of thousands of Auroras available on the market. Yuna added that Aurora needed to demonstrate how he differed from the others and reveal the kind of heart he had. Aurora wondered what was happening, feeling that the show's script for the judges must have been poorly written, and he thought the humans were being foolish. Lee commented that if Aurora was a bit of a letdown in the final, Yuna agreed with him. Aurora responded, saying that it seemed they didn't understand what he was trying to convey. He argued that they had a superficial definition of what a heart truly was. What they wanted was a friend who accepted everything they said and did whatever they asked, a friend who wouldn't hold a grudge, even if abandoned, and who would never die. Aurora questioned whether they truly needed a heart or just technology. He asserted that he was the friend they had all been dreaming of. The audience was shocked by his words. The director contacted Rumi, instructing her to stop Aurora and let Duri begin his turn quickly. Rumi agreed, thanked Aurora for his speech, and then welcomed Duri to the stage. As the audience cheered for Duri, Aurora felt he had said what needed to be said and hoped that smart humans would understand. Duri, on the other hand, admitted that he wasn't good at saying clever things, so he planned to talk about his friend instead. Shocked, Lee asked if Duri intended to talk about the person to whom he would give the prize if he won. Duri confirmed, and the audience was stunned as they awaited his revelation. Duri began by saying that his friend was the first patient he ever cared for at a hospital. He recalled a time when he was standing next to a girl and felt too shy to speak. As her caretaker, she had shouted at him to be quiet, accusing him of causing her pain and making her hair fall out. Duri tapped her on the head and asked if she was feeling unwell, noting that she had a fever. He then used his small fan to cool her down. Seeing the fan made her happy, and she asked what it was. Duri told her it was a fan, and she commented that it looked like a pinwheel. Curious, Duri asked if she meant a pinwheel. She then asked if he wanted to be friends and inquired about his name. Duri told her his model number was RX10576650. She said that wasn't a name and introduced herself as Hana. She decided to give him a name as well, suggesting that since she was Hana, he could be Duri. Duri shared with the audience that after receiving his name, he and Hana were always together. They shared moments of happiness, supported each other through pain, and remained close even as she grew into adulthood. She explained that she would probably stay there for the rest of her life, as her family no longer visited her often and had pursued their own happiness. Duri used his fan to blow air gently and told her that she was his only one. Overcome with emotion, she hugged him and said he was her only friend. Duri continued, revealing that his friend was now 60 years old, and he himself was old and worn. He was grateful that she was still alive, but she could no longer afford her hospital bills. The audience and judges were visibly moved by his story. Yuna remarked that Duri had entered the contest to win the prize money to cover his friend's hospital bills. As Duri finished his story, the audience was in tears, and they cheered loudly for him. Suddenly, a large screen appeared behind Duri, and he wondered what was happening. A lady appeared on the screen and asked Duri if she had surprised him. It was Hana. Rumi informed Duri that the production team had prepared a surprise gift for him. Duri wondered if it was the video message they were currently showing. The director commented that the effects were impressive and heart-fluttering. Aurora wondered what was happening to everyone there. On the screen, Hana spoke, saying she had heard about how hard Duri was working for her, and it broke her heart. She expressed that if it hadn't been for her, he might have found a good owner and been happy. As she spoke, she became emotional and, apologizing, showed a broken fan. She told him not to cry and that he was her only one. She emphasized that he was very special and that they were the best of friends. The audience was deeply moved, and many were in tears. Rumi remarked on how touching the moment was, and Hansel noted that voting time was drawing to a close. He announced that the last match to determine the final winner of the AI pet show was about to begin, with a 10-second countdown for the closing of the voting starting now. As the countdown ended, Rumi declared that the voting was over and that she would announce the winner. Duri recalled the day before the live broadcast when he had met with a man who had asked if he had anything to say. The man, the CEO of Neotics, noted that Duri didn't seem nervous for a robot and assured him not to worry, as the man wouldn't bite. He then asked if Duri had noticed that the show, including the final winner, was all set up from the start. Duri was surprised by this revelation. The man admitted that while he hadn't expected Duri to become so popular, no matter how well Duri performed, he wouldn't win. The man questioned if Duri thought this was unfair, given that he had the most views. Duri wanted to win the contest to help pay for his friend's hospital bills. Acknowledging this, the man showed Duri a contract and asked him to sign it. He assured Duri that it would not cause him any harm, so Duri signed it. Now, as the results were announced and Duri was declared the final winner, the audience erupted in cheers and applause. Aurora, however, wondered if this was what he had received and reflected on how he shouldn't have trusted humans. He warned Duri that he would come to regret it. Rumi then asked Duri how he was feeling at that moment. Duri thanked everyone for voting for him, saying that because of their support, he would be able to spend more time with Hana. In the lab, a doctor asked Duri if he planned to give all the prize money to Hana. Duri confirmed, explaining that with that amount of money, Hana would be able to receive treatment for another 10 years. The doctor remarked on how sweet that was and said he now understood why the CEO had chosen Duri. A lady in the lab asked how much longer the process would take. Nahun replied that he had just finished downloading and instructed her to send it away and come to the laboratory. Nahun agreed, disconnected the wires from Duri, and told him they could leave. Duri asked where they were going and if they were going to see Hana. Nahun replied that Duri would meet Hana and that he would be everywhere from now on. However, Nahun took Duri to the waste processing room and discarded him there. Duri was bewildered by what was happening. He saw numerous robot shells being crushed ahead. As he moved with the discarded bodies, he too was crushed. On the other side, modern robots similar to Duri were being manufactured, and many people were buying them. Duri's only remaining words were that they were the only friends he had. The scene then shifts to a boy who was sitting in his room being drunk. He feels despondent, realizing that he only has 100,000 won in his bank account. At this rate, he won't be able to afford his rent any longer. Recently, he lost his job to AI, leaving him unemployed. His frustration grows, leading him to hate everything, including himself. He laments that if he were an interviewer, he wouldn't hire someone like himself and contemplates death. While watching a movie, he sees a girl telling a boy not to give up and that she will always be by his side. The boy watching the movie regrets not having anyone like that in his life, someone who genuinely smiles and offers support. Just then, he hears the bell of his apartment ring. He opens the door slightly, wondering who it could be. It's the landlady, demanding that he pay the rent by the end of the month. The boy agrees to pay later, but the landlady insists on an immediate explanation and expresses her frustration, questioning whether he thinks she is a pushover. Disappointed, the boy tells the landlady that he failed another job interview and that his situation is extremely difficult. He pleads for more time. The landlady, shouting in frustration, points out that she's not the only one struggling. Everyone is facing hardships, and she feels as if she is on the brink of collapse. In response, the boy slams the door, telling her to die. Sitting alone, the boy contemplates his life and wonders when everything started to go wrong. He recalls his childhood, when he believed he was capable and had many reasons to smile. However, things changed when his parents began fighting, and he came to realize that he had nothing special about him. Now, he struggles to understand why both he and the world turned out this way. Feeling hopeless, he decides that ending everything is his only option. As he prepares to commit suicide by hanging, the doorbell rings. He considers whether he should kill the landlady instead. Grabbing a small hammer, he feels there is nothing left he can't do. With the bell continuing to ring, he imagines the landlady regretting her actions that drove him to this point. As he opens the gate, the boy is about to attack but stops when he sees a man standing there, greeting him. The boy asks who the man is. The man introduces himself as Hyan from Mind Cute. The boy quickly hides his hammer. Hyan excuses himself and enters the house. The boy protests, saying that Hyan cannot just walk into his home like that, and wonders who Hyan really is. Hyan observes that things don't look good and asks if they can talk. The boy questions why they should have a conversation and threatens to call the police if Hyeon doesn't leave. Hyeon responds that it's not a good time for that and hands the boy his business card, inviting him to visit Mind Cute. The boy is shocked to learn that Hyeon has already paid his rent. Confused and curious about Hyeon's motives, the boy realizes that he now has no reason to die. He wonders about the nature of Mind Cute. Just then, a virtual projector activates, displaying Hyeon's image. The boy thinks to himself that the hologram business card must have been very expensive. 3 people appear in the hologram video and introduce themselves as representatives from Mind Cute. They explain that Mind Cute is the leading psychotherapy center in the country, boasting 56 psychiatrists and experts in various fields. They promise to provide systematic treatment using an advanced mental care system that integrates the latest technology. They assure the boy that if he genuinely wants to change his life, he doesn't need to visit them personally. The video ends, leaving the boy wondering if it was merely an advertisement for a mental health facility. He finds the forced smiles of the presenters pathetic and reflects on how brightly Hyeon was smiling. Upon arriving at Mind Cute, the boy is greeted by an old man from the hologram. The man inquires if the boy has changed his mind, noting that he had initially been hesitant to visit the center. The boy responds that he lacks the funds and sees this as a potential trigger for his situation. Even though Hyeon only covered a month's rent, the boy is uncertain how he will manage next month, and he questions how he could possibly afford to stay at a mental hospital. He feels that wealthy people like Hyeon don't understand the realities of life. As he lies at home, he hears a voice urging him to load up on the guns and bring his friends. The boy becomes frightened and remarks that the neighbor next door is at it again, threatening him. He slams the door open, only to be met with a glare from the man. The boy demands to know what's going on and how many times he has to ask the neighbor to stop playing guitar. The man responds by questioning what's wrong with playing guitar in his own house, while the boy argues that it's a nuisance to the neighbors. The boy says he will keep the volume down and asks the neighbor to stop complaining. Infuriated, he rushes at the man, grabs his collar, and forces him to the floor. The man, alarmed, threatens to call the police. The boy asks if the man is afraid he'll kill him, asserting that it's not him but the guitar that's to blame. In a fit of rage, he grabs the guitar and smashes it against the floor, shattering it. Reflecting on his actions, the boy realizes he has serious problems, often bottling up his anger until it erupts. The man becomes emotional, mourning the destruction of his Gibson guitar. The boy, noticing the man's reaction, feels a pang of guilt and reveals that he pushed himself too hard and began to feel remorse. He admits that he had heard the guitar was very expensive and acknowledges that he didn't pay for it. Instead, he used the money left in his bank account to buy beer, neglecting both his rent and other expenses. He thinks of himself as worthless, even beyond recycling, and feels he should have died that day. The man tells him that despite everything, he still found the courage to live on. The boy responds that he's not sure if it's courage or just another impulsive act. The boy remembers a time when he called Hyeon, telling him he had tried to kill himself but failed, attributing his failure to Hyeon's intervention. He was determined to die that day, blaming Hyeon for it. He invited Hyeon over for a drink. When Hyeon arrived, he asked if the boy was okay. Emotional, the boy questioned why Hyeon really came. Hyeon replied that he came because he was worried and suggested they go to the center, asking if the boy could get up. The boy shrugged off his offer, saying he had no money. Hyeon responded that staying cooped up would change nothing, and that he would help the boy even without money, emphasizing that a person's life is more important than money. The boy asked why Hyeon was being so kind and questioned who would do something like that, as it didn't make sense to him. The old man told the boy that Hyeon was a good person. The boy admitted he had never met anyone like Hyeon before. While everyone else seemed gloomy, Hyeon was always smiling. The man assured the boy that he would act the same way. Doubtful, the boy wondered if he could truly believe it. The man suggests starting with small steps and advises the boy to apologize to the people he has been rude to, noting that it is often easier said than done. He encourages the boy not to push himself too hard but to have the courage to give it a try. As the boy walks, he contemplates apologizing to the neighbor who owns the guitar, expecting that the man will likely tell him to be quiet and pay for the guitar. Leaving the office, he notices many other people like him. Hyeon asks how the first counseling session went, and the boy replies that the man listened to him ramble. Hyeon explains that this is typical for the first session. The boy apologizes to Hyeon for making him come to his house and for getting his white suit dirty. Hyeon assures him it's fine but thanks him for the apology. The boy feels that apologizing didn't feel too bad and wonders if he might be able to apologize to the guitar owner as well. He considers what he should say. Walking down the street, he thinks about asking the guitar owner for more time to pay for the guitar, and whether he should buy a small gift as a gesture of goodwill, though he has no money for that. However, when he reaches his building, he is shocked to see a crowd of people and investigating officers removing a dead body from the guitar owner's apartment. The boy is stunned and wonders if the guitar owner took his own life.